What's up guys, Zofik back at it again, and today we're going to be reviewing Survivor the Australian Outback, and I just want to hop right into this, but before we do that, we got to look at our reward system. We have a reward for being the best player, the second best player, third best player, all three of my top three favorite players of the season. We have one for the worst player and the one for my least favorite player. Now that y'all know the little system and what each little picture means, let's get into this. So first up we have Deb, and Deb, the one way to describe Deb is bossy. She seems to try to take control of multiple situations in her 3 days in the game, and she just rubs people the wrong way constantly. And she also just seems kind of socially awkward to me. Like, I feel like her social game was pretty bad, and it's just like she gets every vote except obviously her own vote. Like, it's a unanimous decision, which is pretty crazy. So obviously whatever she was doing was not good at all. She couldn't even get one vote. And you have that one moment where her and Jeff are like trying to convince everyone else that the other one doesn't want to be here, and I really like that moment. I think it's an interesting moment, a pretty cutthroat moment for season 2 episode 1, but obviously Jeff came in on top of that. I have a sneaking suspicion that she's one of those people that's a lot more into the survival aspect than any other aspect. And with that being said, I actually think Deb would have done pretty good on season 1, at least not the first person voted out, but that's enough about the first boot, Deb. Next up, the guy behind Beef Jerky Gate, Kell Gleason, everybody. There's actually not that much to say about Kell besides the beef jerky thing, because every time you really see this guy, he's out trying to fish, which honestly just seems super pointless and seems like a way for him to pretend like he's doing work, kind of like Sean and Dirk do in season 1, and also maybe just a way to get away from everybody. He doesn't seem to be that much of a social butterfly and didn't really have any strong relationships on the tribe, and he also, a lot like Deb, comes off kind of socially awkward to me when he's on screen. Let's talk about the beef jerky. So obviously everyone should know by now that, Jerry goes down by the water to check up on him or something, and she sees him with what looks like beef jerky in his mouth, so obviously she goes back and tells the tribe. I think they look in his bag and they don't find anything, and Kell comes back and he's like, oh no, it was just a blade of grass, which that beef jerky and a blade of grass look nothing alike. So the fact of Jerry mistaking that is probably not the case. It's either one of them it's either Kell is lying or Jerry is lying. That has to be it. It's someone is lying in this situation. Now, if you're coming here for the truth, I don't actually know the complete and utter truth, but from what I've heard like Tina talk about this before, and she's like, Kell's been in the army or something before, and they like can sew beef jerky into their clothes and stuff, and I'm pretty sure Tina's actually gone on the record saying she actually thinks he did have beef jerky, and I think I've heard the fact that he actually did have beef jerky. At least that's what people think from other places too. So I don't know if anyone knows for sure, but the consensus is that actually people do think he really did do that, and if that's the case, I'm glad he gets voted off second. It's another unanimous vote. He does try to scramble a little bit, but Jerry's just kind of got a stranglehold on the tribe for this early portion of the game. So yeah, another unanimous vote, and I like that. The tribes are staying strong together. That's good. Now we're at Marilyn, or as we like to call her, Mad Dog, and this lady was hot back in the day, Ski. That picture of her at the reunion, man, let me tell you. But anyways, let's actually talk about her game and not the way she used to look. Marilyn, she's actually pretty funny. I think she had a good social game, though her biggest weakness is her age. But I think her biggest mistake in the game was not sucking up to Jerry more. She was openly displeased with how they treated the Kell situation, searching through his bag and stuff, and even promised to vote with him at some point, even though she didn't. And so I really think that, the Jerry, Mitchell, Amber, and kind of Colby thing at this point was still in control. So basically even Tina voted against Mad Dog. They're sticking together as a tribe, just picking off who they think is the best votes, which that's good for the tribe as a whole right now. But when you're in a situation like that, whoever's in power, you kind of got to suck up to them, or you got to do something to somehow upset the balance of power, and neither of those things ended up happening, and so that's why we see Mad Dog go out where we do. Mitchell Olsen, one of the first fans to play the show. I mean, there's only one season before this, but I'm pretty sure he's a self-proclaimed super fan even at this point when he's on the show, and he's also one of the tallest survivors ever. So fun facts about Mitchell. Now, as for his game, early on he aligns with the Jerry, Amber, Colby thing, and they kind of run the show for a little bit, but at this point things kind of go downhill for them. Keith's really not having nothing from Jerry. Jerry's really having nothing from Keith. So they're trying to get Keith out. And they think they have Colby's vote still at this point, but this is when Colby's like, you know what? I don't even like Jerry that much, and, you know, I kind of want to upset the balance of power, something Mad Dog didn't do. And so he does switch his vote, making it a tie, and they have to revote. But because Keith voted for Mitchell before, Mitchell ends up being the one going home. And this completely, like I said, upsets the balance of power. So now the main power is Colby, Tina, and Keith against Amber and Jerry. Next up, we have Jenna Lewis. Kimmy Kappenberg. Super loud, super obnoxious, pretty annoying, does annoy your tribe mates a lot. I'm pretty sure it's literally the first night when she's talking about masturbating, and it's like, come on, Kimmy. And everyone was trying to sleep, too, at the same time. It's, what the hell? Obviously, since she's obnoxious, she's at the same time a vegetarian. And that kind of comes into the way of her Survivor game a few times. You know, at this second immunity challenge where they're eating the gross food, it almost costs her tribe the win. Also, that's what causes the finger wagging incident with Alicia, because she doesn't like the way the tribe handles the chickens. And, like, I like her standing up for her beliefs, but it's just bad Survivor gameplay. Like, she wasn't a good player at all, in my opinion. Another thing that kind of just came to mind is I think people were talking about how she never bathed, and she was the smelliest of all the tribe mates, which, interesting, kind of reminds me of Russell Hantz in Heroes vs. Villains. But I really think a big reason why she got voted out is just because she created conflicts within the camps. You know, it's a unanimous vote against her. So now we're up to Michael Scoopin, and we might have a decent amount to say about this guy. Not going to talk about anything that has to do with real life, obviously. This is only going to be about his game in the Australian Outback, so let's get right to it. He very strongly tries to become the leader of his tribe, and honestly, like, we've seen a decent amount of people do this, and he's one of the better people at it. I don't think he's the best tribe leader that we've ever seen, but I actually think he's in the top 10. That's saying something, because he was still a pretty bad leader, but, you know, almost every leader in Survivor is a bad leader and is one of the first people voted off. He never gets voted off, man. He falls in the fire and gets medevaced, so we don't really know where his game was leading. It seemed like it was on the upward trajectory, and he was getting better and better at, you know, being the leader of his tribe as the game went on. Just know that even though we were shown a bunch of things that he did wrong, I do think he must have been doing a decent amount of things right as well. We probably just weren't shown it because it's more boring. I mean, he was outwardly strategic. It's just his strategy revolved a lot around the survival aspect and him being the leader and the provider. Like, that's why he tried to get them to eat the chickens, is because he didn't want them to not be hungry and not need a provider. He wanted them to have a provider. So anytime they win a food reward, it kind of worries him, which, you know, I like that he's being strategic. It's a very interesting strategy, and I don't know, that's why I like watching Michael Scoopin on this season, is because he's kind of a one-of-a-kind player. But, like, seriously, go back and watch the Australian Outback. This guy doesn't even seem like a real human, but obviously eventually he falls in the fire. He has to get medevaced. It's the most famous medevac in Survivor history. It's a really, obviously unfortunate event, but it's cool to see on TV, and at this point, all of his tribe mates just seem to love him, and they want to win in his honor and stuff like that. And I wonder how much of that is, like, he seems to be on an upward trajectory, or if it's just because he gets voted out. You know, like, people appreciate an artist's paintings more when he's dead. And one other thing I forgot to mention is him killing the boar. That was controversial. That was really cool to watch. I mean, I'm not against that scene, you know, but I don't know if Survivor would even show that if that happened nowadays. You know, you have that scene in Game Changers where they don't even want to kill a goat, but except for Sandra, obviously. But yeah. Now we got Jeff Varner. He's my favorite character in this season. He just seems like an evil guy, you know. He seems like the Richard Hatch of this season. There are multiple situations where we can see him being a dastardly devil. Like, I've heard rumors that he's kind of the one that started the Alicia and Kimmy fight. At the gross food eating challenge, he's fake vomiting to get other people to vomit up the food. Let me think. What else did this man do? Oh, that's right. Back with the Deb thing. You know, he's kind of lying to everybody, saying that, oh no, she doesn't want to be here anymore. And then we hear at the reunion that he, like, got rid of some fish or something that they caught because he knew he was going to get voted out, which is freaking awesome. That kind of like Sandra in Pearl Islands, except with Rupert getting voted out. It's hard for us to really know for sure because I'm pretty sure the only 2 vote outs that they have for this tribe before obviously this merge that happens at this round are unanimous votes. But I really do think Jeff and Alicia, who are very tight and pretty much in an alliance, I think they were kind of running this camp, dude, this tribe. I do think Jeff played a pretty decent game before he ends up getting voted out. It's just unfortunate that the Michael Scoopin medevac tied them up, and, you know, the other tribe just outplays them at this round, and because of that, Jeff goes out on the tie vote. And apparently Kimmy told Tina at some point that Jeff was the one who had votes, so that's another unfortunate event that really helped out the other tribe. I really don't think they would have targeted Jeff if that didn't happen. He would still be in the game, and maybe their tribe would even have the numbers. I mean, so many little things that happened this season could have completely changed the trajectory of this game. It's just pretty cool to think about. Alicia, she's known for her little fight with Kimmy. I will always wave my finger in your face. But like I said, I actually think she's a decent player. I think she's decent at challenges. I think she has a decent social game, and I think that she was decent strategically for Season 2, that is. These early merge boots in these early seasons are almost always a testament to, you're a threat. That's why I got voted out. Just look back at Season 1, Gretchen and Greg are the first to vote out. So I do think the other tribe does end up voting her out because she is a threat, which, she could have maybe tried to lower her threat level. But, I mean, again, this is Season 2, so I can't really fault her too much. But also, I think she's a little bit overrated as a character, that is. I mean, the one thing she does in this season really is, look buff and have that fight with Kimmy. The original villainess, Jerry Manthe! Yeah! So let's talk about Jerry's game. Obviously, her social game wasn't terrible, but it was very lacking. Very, very lacking. Maybe it was terrible. The one person that likes her the entire season is really only Amber, and that's because, they're around the same age, and they're both girls, I guess. I guess Mitchell too, but he gets voted out pretty early, and he kind of maybe he didn't really have any other options. Two of the biggest mistakes I've seen in her social game that I remember off the top of my head right now is obviously her stuff with Keith. Her and Keith, this is like one of the biggest rivalries in friggin' Survivor history. They hate each other so much. She's literally like trying to tell a chef how to cook, which is the audacity that you have to have. Like, she is so much herself. She's not apologizing for who she is. She's very confident and she stands up and this and that. But like, bro, this is Survivor. You can't be that headstrong in Survivor. You got to lay off a little bit. And that one part where they're saying, let's draw to see who's paired up in the challenges, in this reward challenge. And she's like, no, I want to be with Colby. It's me and Colby. And then Colby literally has a confessional. Why don't we ask Colby who he wants to be with? So come on. How do you even do that? That's not even a human being doing that. What the heck? Physically, who cares about her physically? Now, strategically, I actually think she was kind of decent. I think she actually would have seemed even better at strategy. It's just that her social game was so bad that no one wanted to work with her. Like, she kind of was leading those early few tribals on her tribe. She was making alliances. She was trying to keep Colby and even sway Colby back after he flipped. But again, it's her social game is a big reason why Colby didn't want to join with her. Now, maybe if this was a later season, she'd be viewed as a goat and easy to beat, and he would have stuck with her. But then again, she probably wouldn't have won at the end. But all that being said, Jerry, there's something wrong with this person when your own tribe votes you out even though they have the numbers at the merch. Come on, bro. It was not because she was a threat. It's literally just because that's how unpleasant she was to be around. And, this is still Season 2, and I think they thought that Elizabeth and Roger deserved it more than she did. I'm also under the assumption that they kind of think they can work with Elizabeth and Roger and kind of use them like, Elizabeth and Roger, y'all help us and we'll make sure y'all are the final two remaining. And then maybe we even might keep you around even longer. You never know, Elizabeth and Roger. So I don't really think they're too worried about any chance of them losing the numbers at this point. So they really do feel safe being able to vote out Jerry. Time for Nick. Nick, he's Nick. He was pretty, he sucked to the compass at the beginning. He didn't do much around camp. There's even a scene where it shows him literally, pretending not to hear somebody when they ask for help, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, he wasn't the most loved guy. He was kind of just chilling, He's literally just out there chilling every day, and I think that helped him kind of fly under the radar a little bit. I don't think he did really much of anything at all, but once he wins that one immunity challenge and he's also in the minority, of course they're just going to vote him off next, especially like I said. I think they're somewhat working with Elizabeth and Roger at this point, and they're the only two besides him, so it's just natural for Nick to go in that spot. One last thing that I just remembered, I do remember there being a few snippets here and there of him seeming like a funny guy, and I think his social game's probably a little bit underrated, I will say that. Boston Rob's wife. Amber Mariano. Okay, maybe I should say Amber Mariano before I say Boston Rob's wife. But anyways, moving past that, the one thing I can say about Amber is that she freaking loves food, dude. Anytime there's food on the screen, her face, just look at her face. She's literally in heaven. So, Amber on Australia, food girl. Food girl. I mean, come on. She's kind of just Jerry's lackey this season. I mean, obviously she has a better social game than Jerry. I think Amber's social game is really good, actually. It's just, you know, she's guilty by association this season, and strategically she pretty much, I don't think she literally does anything whatsoever at all. Still just kind of go with my theory / this might just be completely factual and I'm just being stupid, but again, they don't vote out Elizabeth and Roger. I think, again, they seem them as more worthy of still being here over Amber, and again, like they are somewhat working with them. They do not think Keith, Colby, and Tina are strong right now, and so they're just not seeing any way possible where this goes awry and they can feel safe voting out Amber. Aw, Roger and Elizabeth, how precious. He asked the tribe to vote him off over Elizabeth because she needs it more. Aw, how cute. Well, guess what? In the future, she definitely doesn't need it more, dude. Big mistake, Roger. Worst mistake of the game, brother. But yeah, I mean, there's something to be said that they kept Elizabeth and Roger longer than they kept Amber and Jerry. But also, I think they do end up realizing, wait, they're so likable that we're keeping them over our own tribe mates. And we're getting to the end of the game. They're probably threats to win. Let's get them voted out here, okay? So, yeah, when you're in the minority and you're one of the most likable people there, if you're not also strategical, which they're really not, then you're going to get voted out at some point, unless, you know, the other tribe's just a bunch of idiots. Elizabeth. Now, I don't know this for certain, but I do think that they would have voted out Elizabeth before Roger if Roger didn't ask to get voted off before her, because, I mean, she is a bigger threat to win immunities and probably just a bigger threat in general within the game. But, I mean, that being said, she's much like Roger. Like, she's just a very good social game. She's somewhat there strategically, somewhat there physically, but she just doesn't have she needs more if she's going to overcome this alliance that they have between Tina, Colby, and Keith, and it's just not there. So I think I'm just going to move on. I really don't remember that much interesting about her. Everyone loves her, but I mean, besides that, like, what? I don't know, like, it's Elizabeth, like, okay. Keith Famey. Now, we're in the top 3, and, you know, with Keith, at first you think, okay, maybe social game's not amazing, but it's Jerry. Him and Jerry, they fight over everything. They fight over this. They fight over how to cook the rice. They fight over how to build the shelter. They fight over how to breathe. But later on, he even starts kind of pissing off Colby as well. So I think Keith's biggest weakness within this game is his social game. I mean, physically, he's not amazing either. He doesn't win that one immunity challenge, but that's because Tina makes a good move and lets him win it. And strategically, I assume he wasn't terrible. But we are shown that Colby and Tina are kind of doing more strategic within this alliance than Keith was. So he really is just playing third wheel here. It's voted out because Colby's deciding, should I grab the GOAT and win for free? Or should I grab the person that deserves it more? Be a good guy or also be another good guy who's just better at strategy? And obviously we know Colby Donaldson. He's going to pick the good guy. You know, he's thankful for 2 things when he wakes up in the morning. He's thankful to be alive, and he's thankful to be a Texan. So this man is picking Tina. Colby Donaldson, runner-up, the original golden boy, the cowboy. This man, one of the best challenge beasts of all time, but only in this season. Here's versus villains. He's Superman with the fat suit on. But he also has an amazing social game, and I think an underrated strategic game this season. He actually plays a really good game, and I honestly wouldn't have been mad if he won over Tina, but I do think Tina also deserved to win. I like his move to flip on Jerry and Amber. I just think, yes, they're bigger goats, but they're also more volatile, bigger wild cards, and I just don't know how they would have done against the other tribe when the merge hit, compared to when he sticks with Tina and Keith, who are just stronger allies, and I think more of a help to Colby in his game. And he comes up with this plan to make the other tribe at the merge, when, you know, they know it's going to come down to previous votes, to make them think that he has previous votes by, you know, I think kind of being a douche and, you know, purposely losing the challenge and stuff like that. And it works. I mean, they do put their votes on him, so you have to give him props for that as well. And yes, Colby went on that huge winning streak, but I think that's only a big upside to his game. I mean, that shows that he's really good at challenges, and also I don't even think he needed to win any of those. I think he would have been safe either way, except maybe at the final challenge where, again, his biggest mistake of the game, he does pick Tina over Keith, but he knew he still had a shot against Tina, and he obviously, if he wanted to lose to Tina. So I don't really think he regrets it, but obviously, like, that's the bad strategic move. It would have been a free win against Keith. It's really just Colby being a hero, being the good guy, you know what I'm saying? So that's just the kind of person he is. He did know what the right move was. He talks about in confessional. He knows the right move is Keith. So it's not that he is stupid. It's just that That's him. That's how Colby plays the game. You know, he plays like a hero. Winner, Tina Wesson. Potentially the best social game of the season. I do think it's arguable when you talk about Elizabeth and Roger, but they're on the other side of the numbers. So yeah, and that is due to Tina having a better strategic game than them. So she is just a straight up better player than them. I'm just saying that she might not have the best social game this season, but she makes up for it with her strategic game. And obviously her challenge game's not bad either. I mean, she literally only loses that first challenge because she is being strategic and giving it to Keith so that her tribe can win at the tribal council. And Tina beating Colby is the first time that's proven that challenges aren't everything. I mean, up to this point, this is the most challenge wins that we've seen from a single person, and Tina still beats him. So that kind of puts into perspective where the physical game really is lying within, the game of Survivor. I'd love to be able to sit here and say that all three aspects, strategic, social, and challenges, physical, I should say, are all on an equal playing field, but I have to say I do think that the physical game is probably the least looked at as a valuable thing to have within this game when compared to the other two. And honestly, like watching it, and I think a reason why a lot of casuals watching it really just think Colby is robbed is because it's harder to tell how good someone's social game is because you're not out there with them. You're not living with them every day and seeing how they treat people 24/7. You're just seeing what the edit shows us, and it's way easier for the edit to show you who's making big moves and who's winning all the challenges than it is to show you who's being just amazing socially. But at the end of the day, I think the two biggest reasons why Tina won is because she had one of the best social games. Her social game was better than Colby's. She didn't get in all these little tiffs like Colby did, with him and Jerry and him and Keith. And also, I think Tina had a decently to a lot better final tribal council than Colby did. She was just answering the questions faster. Colby seemed completely unprepared, and I also think she, as a whole, answered the questions better than Colby did as well. And like I said with the Todd video, I think the final tribal council and the way you speak during that is one of the most underrated things in the game of Survivor, because I do think that's amazingly important. A lot of the time, like if it's close between two people, the final tribal council might be the single most important thing in the entire game. And I do think that is kind of what happened in this season. Okay, so let's see, what have we not talked about yet? Cast wise, it's one of the most legendary casts in the history of the show. It has I think it's up there for the most returnees from a single cast ever. And theme wise, the Australian Outback's a pretty good theme. It's not one of my favorite, but I mean, come on, kangaroos bouncing around everywhere. I mean, it's a lot better than just being in Fiji every season. Challenges and the rewards are definitely a step up from last season. I mean, you have that reward where Colby goes with all those other cowboys. I mean, it's perfectly made for Colby. I really like that reward. And then obviously we have to talk about, he comes back and the whole camp is destroyed. They lose their rice. You have that hero moment where Tina goes to the river or whatever and gets the rice. This is one of the hardest seasons of all time. Friggin' Jeff takes all their stuff just to give them some more rice. And oh my god, the Australian Outback, the hardships they had to go through, you actually start feeling bad for these people. And that's kind of why this season kind of gets bad at the end, because at the end it gets pretty bleak. And you can just see that these people are actually suffering out there, especially compared to last season. And finally, I'll just mention the fact that this season's actually slightly longer days-wise. I think it's 42 days instead of 39. I don't remember why that is. Just feel like mentioning that. That is the way that this season is unique compared to literally every other season. So there's that. Before we end the video, I have to give this season a rating out of 10. And I do ever so slightly enjoy Borneo more than this season. And like I said, it's mostly because at the end of this season, it kind of gets kind of bleak and boring. And it's honestly just less interesting in general. And honestly, it's even more obvious what's going to happen. I mean, either Colby or Tina's going to win for a while. So I'm going to actually give it a 4 out of 10. That's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more reviews, I'm going to be reviewing every season and doing other videos as well. Please like and subscribe. And I have already watched Africa, and I'm on my way watching Marquesa. So Africa is going to be next, obviously. And I don't know, that should be in the next few weeks. So stay tuned, please, guys. Peace out.